Hi there crafters, Louise with you today. Thanks for checking out my first share for the month of July. This is such a fun and bright, easy to use kit. I think you're going to have a really good time. Let's go ahead and create my first page. Now, sometimes depending on what I'm using, I might recycle some packaging. And you can see that from my background today. This is a sort of an off-white piece of cardstock that had 49 and market rub-ons. It was a 12 by 12 sheet of rub-ons. And often I will actually keep the packaging in order to either mount something on it, or if I need some backing cardstock for layers. There's a couple of little ways to actually go ahead and reuse those, repurpose them. So that's going to form the background element for today's share. And you can see that I've chosen a bunch of these patterned papers, and I'm going to create this sort of striped background. So again, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming with that first creation of the month, and I like to break it down and just keep it a bit simple. So some striped background, and you'll see how this one develops as we progress with the video. Now I've cut the center out of this patterned paper, and I'm going to use that to mount this particular piece of cardboard. And the reason I did that was because the cardboard wasn't a complete 12 by 12 square. So just trimming it down so that it's nice and even. I think it's like 11 3/4, but I couldn't tell you the official size of it, but yeah, just giving a little 1/4 of an inch peak of that patterned paper. Now with my strips, I cut those 1 1/4 inches, and then trimmed, I think, about 3/4 of an inch off the bottom in order to get that sort of nice balanced background where my pattern papers are going to go. And laying them out, I didn't really overthink it too much. I sort of just went with how I pulled them apart and making sure that I didn't have too many patterned pieces side by side to give me that stripy background. When I was creating this, I did sort of think a little bit about some mixed media. Could I dull them down with a little bit of white gesso? Did they need some paste or some stitching or something in the background, but I ended up leaving it plain, and you'll see why as this progresses. Now, I have a bit of a stash of photos sort of sitting beside me on the desk, and these are ones that I've recently printed. So it's not so much that I've picked them because they suit this kit or collection, but more that I have them close at hand, and it gives me a chance to sort of reach for something, particularly if it's quite a neutral photo. So in this case, this is actually a really an old photo. Master Cooper is helping himself to a cupcake. And I thought that this was just a really great sort of one of those general life photos, which this kit is all about. So particularly this little title with the everyday life. And at the moment, I'm just building a couple of elements around my cluster. So this has got lots of fun little cut apart pieces. So these little guest check-in tags, there's a whole sheet of those. There's some little project life kind of pieces. I think this would be really fun to sort of distress and actually get a few little things in the background. But very importantly, the black around the photo is really there to help separate that from those coloured background layers. Now, as you can see at this stage, I'm kind of just fiddling, adding a few bits and pieces, nothing too technical. In terms of building clusters, I like to just layer and move things around until I'm pretty happy with how it looks. It also depends on what I'm going to do in the background of the page, and like I said, at this stage, apart from the stripes, I've kind of got no idea. So I'm letting the kit guide me and purely just as the flow goes, I just roll with it. So it's sort of more if I start to get a bit stuck that I might think, okay, what on earth am I going to do next? All right, now while I've sort of put that cluster together, I have realized that these are not stuck down, and they really do need to be stuck down before I bump them all out of position and make a huge mess of this background. So using some tacky glue and gluing them down. I did consider sort of distressing the edges. I considered bordering around them, adding some doodling. There are lots of ways that you could make this sort of stripy background your own. It doesn't have to be sort of too complex. You can leave it nice and plain. If you wanted to whiten it up a little bit, you could definitely use a brayer and some gesso, some white gesso, or even white acrylic paint. Splatters would be great. As you can see, it's quite a busy background, so definitely need to make sure that you're happy with your layouts and how they look. All right, thinking a little bit more, I decide that I'm going to make a second cluster, and I still hadn't quite worked out that background, but with lots of these little ephemera pieces, I knew that this sort of second little cluster would give me a chance to use some of those up and add an extra little area of interest into the actual creation of the page. So the florals are super cute. I think their little bit of sparkle adds just that pop of something, and yeah, it just gives you something to sort of embellish with and add those few little extra bits and pieces. So I love the term auditioning a part for the layout, and basically what that means is you just pop a piece into a position and hold it up and have a look at it for yourself, and maybe you end up putting that piece there and maybe you don't. So I do lots of auditioning, and thank you to one of the design team girls. I can't remember who actually used that term, but I really do like to audition a piece, an embellishment, and then decide if it's right for this particular either cluster or layout. So a bit of fun today, putting together some embellishment clusters and using up a few pieces. Before I'm going to put this aside, and I actually go on to create 3 other design team projects before I come back to this one. And you'll see when the video pauses exactly what's going to happen. So essentially, I wanted to get my silhouette out to cut something black and circular to go into this background. So using the black cardstock, I have designed this little cut piece. I did have some trouble. I had to end up cutting most of the cut file because it hadn't gone all the way through, but that's just because my blade's a bit dodgy and it's time for a new one. But essentially, I wanted that black circular element. So again, you don't need a silhouette to do this. You could hand draw one, you could hand stitch one, but I wanted something just a little bit different to the scrapbooking that I've done recently, and that was to pull my silhouette out and actually create something that was made from a cut file. So a little bit of fun with that one, and then later on I'm going to actually share with you the use of the outer piece of the cut file. So don't need to waste that, everything has a use. And then for the final stages of this, I had that little everyday word, and I had planned initially, so I'm coming back to finish this layout probably 2 weeks later. I'd put it aside, created a bunch of other projects and layouts, and come back to this one with that cut file ready to finish it off. And the little everyday life word was the final stage. So that is my share for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you will hit that subscribe button.